My main account got a match found for KvK. Thank freaking goodness. And it's a Heroic Anthem KvK where I think we're going to have to fight all 3 other war camps. So it's like 26 or so, 27 billion power for us and like 120 billion power for them. Stick around in this video for the details on this KvK that should be pretty fun. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. And we queued up for the Strife of the 8 on my main account where we're at over 19 billion power in the Smash Squad right now, but we are a 1 Alliance Kingdom. We queued up for Strife of the 8 and unfortunately not enough other people queued up for it, so the game gave us the option to flip over to a Heroic Anthem, which we did. It's really important to take KvKs as frequently as your kingdom can sustain, so that you get more opportunities for the incredible inscription rewards, not to mention the conquest coins and so on. And we do have a match found, but weirdly enough, we are in the upper left in the fire camp, and we are placed with Kingdom 2, Kingdom 1302, who we allied with last KvK, Kingdom, and actually the KvK before that, Kingdom 2755, Kingdom 1077, who actually we've fought against in the past when I was in Kingdom 1075, Kingdom 1615, and Kingdom 2634. Now, in order to really understand the lay of the land here, we need to go and look at a data sheet in order to really unpack what's the KP of each of these kingdoms and what's the power of each of these kingdoms. And it is funny to see that Kingdom 2 is listed as Imperium right now, and we're still not Imperium in 2605 because we are a 1 Alliance Kingdom. And even though we have some really high power players, we don't have enough of those high power players to actually flip us over to the Imperium status, which is pretty crazy. So let me jump to the data sheet now and let's talk about what this KvK is going to look like. So here we are in the upper left. We actually are almost 27 billion Imperium power. We've got 1.3 trillion kill points, apparently. I didn't know we were up to that many. And then 7 billion dead troops, which is a pretty big number. I mean, it tells you a lot about our interest and willingness to fight. Now, on the right-hand side of the map, you've got 1077 and 2755. They have a combined 43 billion power, and they've got a combined 870 billion kill points. So not an insignificant number of kill points there. However, when you try to compare here, I think what's really important to understand is that when a kingdom has a kill point number kind of like this, 360 billion kill points, it means that their field marches are probably significantly not as strong. However, it's also a very, very young kingdom. So as we're seeing now in the 1960 KvK, where I think 2268 was kind of underestimated a little bit, and I think that 2891 was underestimated a little bit because they're younger kingdoms. Potentially there's good punch there, and they're sitting at a grand total of a combined, actually a not insignificant number of deads here, 7.9 billion dead troops. That's a pretty meaningful number of dead troops. From here, we go now to the bottom right portion of the map. This is the Wind Camp. Now the Wind Camp has Kingdom 2. And, you know, people say that Kingdom 2 is a dead kingdom. It's 24 billion power, but you got to keep in mind it's one of the first kingdoms in the game. There's just a lot of accounts that have sort of powered up and powered up and powered up to be, you know, pretty meaningful amount of power. And they also only have 138 billion kill points. So this is a very low number for KP. Okay, their dead count is 2.6, so almost 2.7 billion deads. And they're paired with 1615, who is only 18.2 billion power, but they have way more KP. So just a lot more field fighting going on over here with 3.2 billion dead troops. And this brings us to the bottom left portion of the map. So over here, you've got 1302. And 1302 is a, I think, really well-organized kingdom. And certainly from a territory standpoint, they've proven that they do some really smart thinking. They've got 21.2 billion power, however, so they are not at their peak punch. and they've got 740 billion kill points. So besides our kingdom, I think that is the kingdom that represents the biggest punch on the map. And they've got 5.5 billion dead troops, almost 5.6 billion dead troops. So they definitely commit their troops to KvK. Now they're paired with 2634, who's got 18 billion power exactly. That must be rounding. I actually don't know the source of this diagram, so I apologize for any inaccuracies or misrepresentations here. They're certainly not intentional. I did not make this diagram. But there's also almost 400 billion kill points over here. So that gives us a total of 1.1 trillion kill points. 6.5 billion dead troops in total for Water Camp. All right. So how do we take this KvK and how do you divide up the allies? And I think, weirdly enough, the only way to take this KvK that guarantees sort of maximum fights for our kingdom and that all the other kingdoms stay engaged and want to fight is if we do a 1v6. So one camp versus all three camps, which is really one kingdom versus all 6 other kingdoms. I think that might be the only way to do this. Look, I'm not in Diplo, okay? I'm not the one making these decisions. I'll do whatever the kingdom does, okay? But I think that might be what you have to do in order to encourage the other kingdoms to play the KvK. And then kind of like, what happens? I mean, Water Camp and Earth Camp would have to make a decision. Do they want to fight us in these zones here and here? I would assume the answer is yes. Okay. After those zone fights, you've got the altar fights over here. And then you've got the passes opening over here. So the zone invasions begin. I think it's very difficult to do anything meaningful during a zone invasion. But typically the goal during a zone invasion is to try to gain access to these passes that are over here. So if you can gain access to one of those Kingsland passes, it's a pretty big deal. Under this situation, I would assume that at that point, Kingdom 2 could theoretically kind of flow in to these other zones as well. So it creates kind of a reinforced situation for the neighbors here. And then you've basically got 2 Kingsland passes versus 6 Kingsland passes, which, like, I feel like this creates a lot of fighting, right? So you basically have us, I'll draw us in red because we're Fire Camp, okay, versus all of these passes. So by default, we're looking at 25% of Kingsland being our territory, and they're looking at 75% of Kingsland being their territory off rip. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that we need to talk about here. First of all, a lot of people talk about Kingdom 2 like they're a dead kingdom. And I mean, when you look at this KP number, that is a pretty low field presence. So how much they do or don't step up is pretty significant. They got a lot of power to throw around if they decide to actually do that. When you look at 1077, we fought them in the past, and apparently, like, some number of people are raising up some amount of bad blood in the past. I mean, I've long forgotten the 1077 days, but for those of you that would like a reminder, back when I was in 1075, honestly, the best we ever performed in KvK was when we got completely, how do I say this? I mean, basically, Diplo just went completely sideways, and the opposing team decided they wanted to guarantee their win. So the opposing team allied in a way that 100% guaranteed they were going to win the KvK. But we fought anyways, and we fought against 2 war camps, and we won. And then we basically rolled out of the KvK when, you know, the third major Imperium that had done, like, almost no fighting up to that point sort of showed up. We're like, all right, we're out of here, man. But that KvK was really crazy, and honestly the best 1075 ever performed. And that's because there was a bunch of bad blood between the original members of 1075 and the folks who were in 1077. And that's because the folks who were in 1077 basically were the leaders of 1075. They deleted all the alliance shells that were really valuable and then left the kingdom, like maximum rudeness on their way out. We'll put it that way. So they were like, yeah, we're leaving and screw you guys. And they basically, you know, deleted shells, right? Which is so rude. That's like so rude. So the original 1075 people had a lot of bad blood with the 1077 people. And that created like a really dynamic KvK where it was honestly the best performance that the original 1075 players ever, I think, provided is when they showed up for that. And unfortunately, well, without going into the details of why we sort of left 1075, we ultimately left because that was not a sustained level of commitment to actually playing the game. So all that to say, there's definitely some blood in the long past between, you know, Smash Squad and 1077. But I'll be real with you, like I'd almost entirely forgotten about all of that. I mean, I honestly, in my head, I thought they were 1079, and then I was like, no. I'm thinking of 1079. This is 1077, dude. So, you know, maybe we get a showdown. Is Ozai still there? Is he still there? The pink flamingo. Regardless, I think we're gonna 1v6. And I think that's almost certainly going to be the outcome. And, I mean, the only way you win from that is you got to trade really well. With the amount of troops they have and the amount of troops we have, you got to trade well and you got to be more committed. And if they all just commit, like, I don't know. I mean, they could serve us up an L if they all just really commit to the KvK. But we'll see what they want to do, man. In other news, my restart account has a major pass opening happening tomorrow. So you're going to want to subscribe so you don't miss this. At 15:10 UTC, apparently, this pass is going to open, and it should be a really good fight. We're actually going to be battling against 1647, who we have allied with in the past. So this is going to be a big zone fight over here, and I'm pretty hyped for it. This is a sort of top versus bottom KvK, where the opposing side has taken both a kill point advantage and a power advantage, but we have one Imperium in our ranks, and that is all the way down over here. In fact, if I look at the map, just to confirm real quick, did anyone else flip to Imperium? Let's find out here. No. So we're allied with 1824, and they have been Imperium. So this is going to be a fun KvK. I mean, I think we're a little bit outgunned by 1647, but commitment determines who wins or loses that zone. And that zone fight's going to be right over here. Now, I have been hoarding materials like a madman because, as I've been saying, you got to wait for the new equipment system if you can. But the new equipment system, it's not here yet, and I have a pass opening. And you bet that I'm not just going to sit on 300 plus legendary materials and not craft anything. So I think my crafting plan, and I'll do this in a live stream, is going to be a bunch of the KvK stuff. So now that the cost of the KvK equipment has gone down, and I've got 7 of these conquest coins, I mean, I got to convert, you know, materials and conquest coins into stats. That's what I need to do. So I think my game plan is to get a Hammer of Sun and Moon, to get a Sacred Dominion, and also to get an Ancestral Mask of Night blueprint. And I'm going to craft all 3 of those. So that means that for my main infantry march, right, we're going to take this shield, and we're going to flip that to a fat attack item. Nice upgrade, right? We go over here. We take this weapon, going to be the KvK weapon. I'll drop iconic crystals on all these, right? Hopefully we get some crits up in here. I'm going to take this helmet, make it the KvK helmet. And then because I'm breaking up the set at that point, this is a really good configuration of equipment, by the way. If you're wondering what's a wicked configuration of equipment, this is very, 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 very efficient. But I think I go in, I make that KvK helmet, and then I make the set legs and the set boots. And I think that's a very good plan for just getting that kind of up and running with more, I think, iconic crystals deployed. And I think at that point, I might actually run out of iconic crystals. That's like 5 things that I've crafted. So I might kind of pump the brakes there. If I still have materials left over, I might flip the Asset Sufferance over to the 8% health gloves. But if I don't have the iconic crystals, I might just kind of like chill with the materials for a minute until I get more iconic crystals and see what the new equipment system looks like. I think by this point, I will not have very many materials left. So we'll see if I decide to craft more at that point or move in on other things. Also, I had planned to like get some value on Liu Che before fighting with him in the field, you know, like spin a wheel, but that hasn't happened. So I may actually just fully max Liu Che from the very small number of sculptures that I have on him. So, you know, I got a couple in the Desert Tracks event on this account. This is my restart account. But I might just, honestly, just like rip the universals. I mean, I'm in KvK. I can get more sculptures later. We know the equipment's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a lot more stats, so I can just spend my gems on equipment. That's probably the game plan, to just use gems on materials and equipment. And then just deploy the sculptures, man. Call it a day. And then I'll have to save up some sculptures between now and the next time a commander drops, but I think it just is what it is. So that's my game plan. If you enjoyed the vid, do me a favor, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. If you want to see a highlight reel from that KvK where I fought against 1077, that was the highly irregular moments KvK. I'll have a card in the end screen. That highlight reel is really funny. A lot of people enjoyed the heck out of it. Check that one out. Alternatively, if you want to see just an overall highlight reel of some of my best moments, card will be in the end screen for that one as well.